Cześć, tutaj Aga Piotrowska. Witam Cię w moim podcaście Leadership z kobiecą duszą. Kieruję ten podcast do kobiet pragnących wzmocnić swoją pewność siebie i odwagę do kreowania życia i pracy w zgodzie ze sobą i swoją duszą. W moich wywiadach i refleksjach znajdziesz inspirację, jak łączyć wiele ról w życiu zawodowym i osobistym, jak odważnie działać, zadbać o swoje potrzeby i realizować marzenia. Welcome in the next episode. Today I have a great pleasure to talk to Seale, founder and director of the Center for Transformational Presence. Alan is an award-winning author, inspirational speaker, master teacher and mentor to many leaders and coaches in the world. His books are currently published in many countries in English, Dutch, French, Russian, Norwegian, Polish and Romanian. He has also served as keynote speaker for many different leadership and coaching conferences in North America, Latin America, UK, Sweden, Romania, and Spain. Truly a global coach, Alan currently serves clients from 5 continents. If you ask him what he actually does, he says, "I help people be who they need to be so that they can do what they came here to do. I help people accomplish big things." Earlier in his professional life, Alan was a professional singer and voice teacher in New York City. He appeared in concert throughout the United States and Europe. Alan is a professional certified coach through the International Coach Federation and a graduate of the Coaches Training Institute. In today's episode, Alan will talk about how he created transformational presence concept, what actually transformational presence is, and how it can help us to grow, to unfold our potential and to show up in the world as we truly want. Listen carefully, as you will have a unique opportunity to know some tools that Alan will present, ready to use just after you listen to the podcast. Please enjoy. Alan, welcome. It's great to have you in my podcast. Thank you for having time for us today, for this conversation with me.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, my first question, Alan, is where are you now?
I'm actually in my home office, and I live just north of Boston, so on the east coast of the United States, on the northeast coast of the United States.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, that might be also interesting information for those who are listening to us. It's about like 3 p.m. Yeah.
Yes. Getting close to there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's evening in Krakow here. So, well, thanks a lot again for this time for us. Alan, so today we are going to discuss about transformational presence, what it is, what it means for people to practice transformational presence. And mostly I would like to ask about transformational presence in relation to the professional area and professional world, like corporations. You know, this is, before our interview, you were asking me, who's your audience? So yeah, these are leaders and managers from corporations. I do a lot of workshops and trainings for this group of people. So I'm really interested in giving them kind of like overview what transformational presence is, and from practical also point of view, how they can apply it on daily basis, what it means for them if they want to grow as leader. So how they can use transformational presence. But before that, so I would like to ask you, that's very interesting for me. How did it come to you, this concept of transformational presence? How did it start?
Well, that's a great question. And it actually came, this would have been in 2000, maybe 2007. I was leading a workshop in soul mission and life vision, your life purpose, and what is the vision that you create for your life for that in Sweden. And there was a wonderful coach there from Denmark who, in the middle of the second day, this is a 4-day program, and in the middle of the second day, she came to me during a break and she said, "What are you doing?"
Wow.
And just like that.
What a question.
And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" Help me understand. And she said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, help me a little bit more. What are you actually asking me? And she said, I've been in many, many workshops and many, many programs with lots of different teachers. There are things happening in this room that I've never seen happening before. What are you doing?
Wow.
And so that was a wonderful gift that she gave to me. And I assured her that I wasn't doing anything in terms of a manipulation of what was happening, but rather holding an intention for our time together and holding a space. Mm. And in that moment, I recognized that there's a whole conversation. Now, again, this was 2007. There's a whole conversation that we're not having in the world about presence, about what does it mean and how you are showing up? What does it mean how you hold space for others? A strange concept, what is that? And in 2007, nobody was talking about presence. Now everybody's talking about presence, or lots of people at least. But in that time, nobody was. And so at the end of that 4 days, I realized, okay, it's time to now be talking about this and to create a program for leaders and coaches around how you show up and how you support others by how you're holding the space for them. And so that was kind of the beginning. And I created a couple of other programs sort of as pilots that led into the come together what is transformational. And the 5-day program as it currently stands in Transformational Presence for leaders and coaches was born in 2009. So
2000, so 10 years, more than 10 years now.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah.
And now maybe 800 graduates from 35 countries. So
wow. That's impressive. Yeah. So did it evolve somehow since the beginning? Or you just created the concept and you think, well, it was like complete since the beginning, that this is it, this is transformational presence, or it was evolving somehow?
So I'd say yes to both, actually, in that it certainly continues to evolve. I mean, literally nearly every day. And so that every time I lead that program, it's the basic concepts, the basic principles and so forth are there, and yet it's different every time. There's something new. I'm doing something differently. I have created a new tool or a framework for us to work with. So it's constantly evolving. And I believe that that's very important for us to understand in leadership as well. That because as we evolve, then our potential evolves. Because we've stepped to another place. Now suddenly there is more possible. Yeah. And so, it's that constant flowing. It's just like as we evolve, then consciousness evolves, because once we have come to another place, then suddenly something else is available to us through the consciousness that wasn't available before because we weren't ready for that to be there.
You're right.
So it's it definitely has evolved, and there's a way in which the foundation of it has remained very steady all the way through. Yeah.
So what is transformational presence?
Yeah, I think we need to define this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me actually take that apart into the two words first, presence, just to talk about presence, because even though people are talking about that a lot, we tend to be talking about it from the standpoint of being present.
Yeah.
And that's only part of what's important here, because it's not just are you fully present, but it's also your awareness of what is the presence that you are bringing to this moment of being present. So if we talk about presence, what does that mean? It means what people experience when they're with you. What is the energy that you radiate? How are you showing up in the moment? And what happens in the room because of how you're showing up? What is the impact of how you're showing up? So we all know the people who, when they walk in the room, the whole room lights up, and it's just like you're so thrilled to be in the presence of that person. It just feels so good to be with them. And we all know people that when they walk in the room, everything gets heavy. It's a difficult space, and you don't really want to be with that person. It's difficult. And so what do people experience when they're in the room with you? And then the first word in transformational presence, so transformation, that is a word that is being used everywhere now. Oh. And when that happens, there's the risk that we lose the power of what that word really means. So if we come back to the Latin root of the word transformation, it's the Latin word transforma, which literally means change across form. It's change from the inside out. When we talk about transformation, I say it's an inside job. Transformation starts from the core of who we are, the core of our beliefs, of our perceptions, of our worldview, how we look at the world, and what we believe about how the world works. We start from that core and then work our way out. And it's the same whether it's an individual or an organization or a system or a country or the global awareness, that it's still, we're cutting through to the essence, we're cutting through to the core. And so if we talk about transformation in quantum physics terms, you might say it's a shift in vibrational frequency or pattern. And when that happens, when you drop a pebble in the water and you know how those concentric circles go out, well, that's how transformation happens. When we dropping the pebble is like cutting through to the core, to the essence, to the center, or at least as close to the center as we can get, and then working from the inside out. And the change happens across the form pretty quickly. It's important to make distinction between transformation and change, because transformation is something that starts on the inside and change is something that happens from the outside. Okay. It's like, I think about with change, we sort of move the furniture around. We make some adjustments kind of around the edges, but rarely with change do we actually get to the core of what's really there. Okay. And with change, in order for change to be sustainable, something has to have transformed in our core belief and our core understanding. And so in a sense, you can say change is short-term, transformation is long-term. Wow. Change is about problem solving. Transformation is about creating a whole new approach or system or reality or whatever that's going to be. So then transformational presence, what is that when we come into that space? Transformational presence is about showing up in the way that creates the best possible conditions or culture for transformation to happen, or for the greatest potential to unfold, for every person to shine in their best, for there to be win-win-win-win-win situation. Everybody gets at least some of what they need here. And so the best metaphor that I know for transformational presence is about gardening. If you plant a seed, there's nothing you can do to make that seed grow. But there are lots of things you can do to encourage that seed to grow. You tend to the garden. So you make sure that you plant it in rich soil, and you make sure it has the right amount of water and the right amount of light. And maybe you give it fertilizer, you feed it, you pull the weeds from around it so it has space to grow and to breathe. You tend the garden. And that's really what transformational presence is all about. It's about tending the garden of the culture that you're creating, whether that's the culture inside of you as an individual, or the culture in a family, the culture in an organization, a system, a company. The job of the leader, or the one with transformational presence, is to tend to the garden and to create the optimal culture for the most incredible things to unfold. Transformational presence is not about making something happen. That's called manipulation. Oh, okay.
So we have the definition of manipulation.
We can force things into place and make something happen. It generally will not be sustainable. Transformational presence, on the other hand, is creating the best possible conditions that allows amazing things to unfold. It's about the difference between setting a goal and then just making sure that we get to the goal, versus having a vision and a sense of direction and knowing there's something there that's calling us to it. That's the direction we're going. That's the kind of bigger picture of what we're feeling called to create, and then letting it show us step by step by step by step by step as we go. So there's another aspect of transformational presence that kind of foundational is a question I always ask when I'm working, especially in a company, right off the bat. Do you talk to life, or do you let life talk to you?
Wow.
So that we are so conditioned to be in output mode all the time, to treat whatever's in front of us as the problem or what we want to accomplish, and how are we going to do it, and making something happen. And we're telling it what we want it to be.
Exactly.
And in that case, we are missing out on something probably much bigger that actually wants to happen here, that is the greater potential of what's wanting to unfold. And so when something is going on, if I'm willing to step back and just listen to it, observe it, let it talk to me, I already start to have, within 2 or 3 minutes, I start to have a lot more information and knowing how to take a next step. So of course, in the end, it is definitely a full circle of conversation, of dialogue, but it begins by stepping back and let it talk to me.
Oh. Well, when I listen to your definition of transformational presence, so then I think about all the workshops about leadership that I do, and sometimes I have this question from people, I want to be an influential leader. I want to, have impact on my team. I want to make my team grow, for example. I want to change something. Yes. So, but being influential in this case, when you talk about transformational presence, and as you said, how people experience my presence. So this is somehow, I would say, the way or the key to also to have this influence if you want to, make a difference in the world or make a difference in my team, in my organization. So that's beautiful what you said. Yeah. But on the other hand,
Can we talk just a moment about that? Because there's a really important distinction that we're making all the time in transformational presence right from the beginning. We ask a question, what wants to happen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is a different question than what do I want?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so what wants to happen, we're talking about in service of something more than me, in service of something bigger than me, in service of everybody getting at least some of what they need, in service of a greater good, what wants to happen here. And so when we talk about, if you say, I want to make a difference, I want to have an influence, I want to make an impact, then the first question is, well, then have you listened to what's happening to ask what is the impact that wants to be made?
Exactly. Yes.
What is the situation asking you for, instead of you just putting your mark on it?
Yeah. You are just the channel for this transformation that wants to happen, as you say. Well, I wonder when some, managers or leaders are listening to you and listening to that, concept of listening to what wants to happen. So probably some of them would ask you a question, well, from practical point of view, Alan, what does it mean to listen to what wants to happen? So what should I do actually on daily basis?
Yeah. So we start in transformational presence with 3 fundamental questions. And really pretty much everything we do is based on those 3 questions in one way or another. And so let's just play with this right now, maybe Aga, you and me.
Okay.
If you can bring to your mind or to your awareness something that you would like to accomplish, or something that's big out there waiting for you right now.
Yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Yes.
Great. You don't need to tell us what it is, just so you know you have your topic.
Yeah. Yes.
And so question number 1, then what is the opportunity that's waiting for you right now within that vision of that project? What is the opportunity?
What is the opportunity for me, right, in that project? Yeah, for me, that
and maybe it's within the project itself. Whatever comes to you. What's the opportunity here?
Well, the opportunities is growth, my growth, but also growth of people who surround me. Yeah, who will benefit of I would say cooperation with me. Yeah. Well, as I work as a coach, and I have some plans about what kind of workshops I want to do, and I take care of of those people. So yeah, the growth. Yeah, that's the first thing, growth.
Wonderful. So if you listen and sense and feel to growth, there's growth that wants to happen. And perhaps if you can bring to mind even a specific workshop that you're designing right now, and we know that growth is what wants to happen there. Now, if you listen to growth and to that workshop, let it talk to you. Who is it asking you to be? Now, that's a little bit of an odd question. What does it mean? It means, how's it asking you to show up? Maybe there's a particular part of you that it's asking to bring forward, like it's asking me to be courageous, or it's asking me to be truthful or playful or creative, or what it's asking you to show up in a particular quality, or maybe there's a particular role that it's asking you to play. So when you listen to growth and to that workshop, who's it asking you to be?
Well, it's asking me to be a listener, first of all, and space holder. Yeah. Just a person who hold the space for other people.
Okay.
That's funny. I need to really interrupt for a moment, because when you were first asking the question, so I started, thinking about that with my head, and the first thing that was coming to my head was a teacher. I want to be a teacher. It wants to be a teacher, but then when I started listening to that came to me this space holder. That's interesting. That's great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, let's go on to the third question. And so the third question is, again, listening to growth and to this workshop, what is it asking you to do? Talking about a 10-step plan. Just what is the next thing it's asking you to do, your next step?
The next step, it's asking me to, well, that's to be bolder, to be to speak up. Yes, to speak up in a courageous way about what I want to. Yes,
It's asking you to speak up. All right. So these three questions, when I go into an organization, the very first thing we do with the team that I'm working with, or a group, I'm often working with either high potential leaders or top leaders in the company. And the first question we ask is, what's an opportunity that's available to you right now? Now, that already shifts the energy, because they're used to asking, what's the problem we have to solve?
That's right. Yeah.
And that's a completely different question. What's the opportunity right here? In Transformational Presence, we have a mantra that says, a problem is not something to be solved. It's a message to be listened to. So we're listening for whatever it is that's going on. What is it that's trying to get our attention right now? So the question might be, what's the opportunity? Or it might be, what wants to happen? Or what is trying to shift right now? What is trying to get our attention right now? What is the message? What's important for us to pay attention to right now? There could be any variation, a number of variations on that question, but it's tapping into, there's something here that's important for us to pay attention to, which moves us automatically out of problem solving and into creative spaces. Then the second question, so then who is that asking me to be? How's it asking me to show up? Which already starts to bring some sense of, oh, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to show up here. And when you get that answer to question number 2, well, to 1 and 2, number 3 is almost instantly clear. So here I am when I'm with a company, and they don't know anything about transformational presence. This is all new for them. And we ask those 3 questions, and I do it in a big exercise with everybody moving around and talking to different partners all the time. So it's very, the energy is getting high or quickly. But the amazing thing is that within 20 minutes, they have information about things that are going on in their teams that they didn't have before, and often about things they've been struggling with for weeks. Wow. And suddenly, in 20 minutes, they have clarity. And they have clarity about a next step. And that is also incredibly liberating, because they're so pressured to know everything about how they're going to do
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Well, that doesn't work in today's world. A 10-step plan, a 10-year plan, or a 5-year plan, or even a 12-month plan is fairly irrelevant at this point because the ground is shifting so quickly. Things are changing so fast. This is why direction and vision are important, to have a sense of that's where we're going. But I don't have the plan. I don't know how we get there.
Yeah.
But that's where we're going. That's where we're called to. And here's the next step. And now that something's bubbling here, so that's our next step. And then something's bubbling here, that's our next step. You keep following it. This takes us to another place of understanding. There's a whole new concept of what is leadership or leadership development that's emerging on the edge of, on the periphery of the consciousness. I was taught that there are 3 levels to leadership development. The first level is that you follow a leader.
Yeah.
And that is an act of leadership because we are all constantly shaping the mass consciousness. So when you choose to follow a leader, that's putting the message out there that there's something important about this. This feels like I want to give energy to this. And so that is in the consciousness, that's an energy. And then the second step is when we become the leader of our own lives. And the third step, we become leader of others. And sometimes that happens because we decide to be a leader, and that gets a little dicey at times.
Yeah.
And and then there are other times when you start to realize there are people following me. There are people behind
what's
me.
happening?
Something's happening here. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, but with that, we've tended to stop there with what is, in a very broad and general sense. But there's this fourth layer, level that's emerging now in the consciousness, and that is recognizing that the potential waiting to unfold, or the project itself, or the vision, that's actually a leader. And their job is to listen, sense, feel, what is it asking us for next? And translate that message to the people that they're leading. Yet it doesn't stop there. Their job is also to teach the people that they're leading also how to listen and to pay attention. So that now we're listening together to the project, to the vision, to the dream, and letting it guide us. So everything is there. It takes us back kind of full circle to leader as follower, but recognizing that here's this project, there's something here that wants to happen. If I will follow it, if I will pay attention, it will show me everything I need to know.
That's extremely liberating, I would say, what you are talking about, because, well, when I listen to the leaders right now, so very often they say, yes, I'm responsible for the problem solving and I need to have answers to all the questions. And when people come to me with all the issues and challenges and problems, so I have to support them. I have to find the answer. So I think that they have a huge pressure right now because of that. And also
what you're talking about is so important, because this is really about all of us in shifting our paradigm of what is leadership and what are we expecting of our leaders. To give the leader the possibility that they can say, I don't know the answer to that question. Let's find out together.
That's right.
You know, I have this fantasy about, I say this often in organizations, I tell this little story. I have this fantasy that a company is going to hire a new CEO. So they come down to the person that they've decided they want, and they say, so listen, here's the deal. We're willing to pay you 500,000 euros a year in order to have all the answers. However, we're actually willing to pay you 5 million euros a year to not have any answers. Because in today's world, again, nobody knows. We're in completely uncharted territory. And so the key for leadership and management as well, but leadership especially in today's world, is being in that huge intuitive mind, in that huge intuitive space. Recognizing that the intuitive mind is the larger mind, and that the person who is going to be the most effective as the leader is the one who is constantly paying attention and it fully recognizing that there are messages everywhere. Our job is to pay attention and to read the signals. The signals are everywhere.
Wow.
But we have to learn how to pay attention to that. Working in complexity is completely different than working in complicated or linear, or it's an entirely different thing. Yeah. And one of the things that I do also with leaders is we work with this Cynefin framework, which is not my creation. It's created by David. All of a sudden, I can't think of his last name. But this framework that's very heady about understanding the difference between complicated, which is a linear step-by-step process, and complex, where everything is circular and moving and many, many layers. And I took that framework, which he's made open source, incredibly generous. It's brilliant what he's created, but it's very heady. I took that and put this sort of transformational presence spin on it to make it a very intuitive tool. We create this big graph on the floor, and we start moving around and exploring and feeling the different energies between what is complicated, what is linear, and what is complex, that is fluid and circular and ever-changing. We live in a complex world now. Almost nothing is complicated. Everything is complex.
It's complex.
And we are very well trained to lead in complicated. We don't know how to lead in complex. Yeah. And so transformational presence is, people often say transformational presence is a movement, and I don't agree. For me, transformational presence is not a movement. It's a part of a much larger conscious leadership movement that's emerging all over the world. Yet we bring something very, very specific to this movement. And that is a set of tools and skills and frameworks and capacities that become the foundation for leadership, the foundation for how we move forward in this much more intuitive way of eating and working and happening, listening to it, letting it talk to us. All of our tools and frameworks, as you know, you've been through the work, the tools and frameworks are so simple and designed to cut right through to the essence and take us right to where we need to start today. This is where we need to start. Yeah. Otherwise, we're talking around things and not getting anywhere.
That's
cut
right.
through to the
That's
essence.
Right.
Yeah, this is the starting place.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned this conscious leadership movement. I fully agree that I think that the type, I would say, of the leadership that we need more and more right now, this is this, as you said, conscious leadership. And I'm also thinking about all those leaders who are so concentrated on targets, on data, on figures, on numbers. And sometimes when I talk to them about, intuitive way of thinking and approaching the reality, so they say, well, what are you talking about? I have my targets. My boss is waiting, expecting me to complete the task, complete the project, complete the target. So there's no place for intuition. And oh my gosh. So I think that what we really need is intuition. Yeah.
Here's a little quantum physics piece that addresses just that is really crucial. I think it's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle is the principle. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle says that you cannot measure velocity or speed and location at the same time.
Yeah.
You can only measure one or the other. Mm-hmm. So when a leader starts to understand that there are times when it's important to know exactly where we are in getting to our whatever, to know exactly where we are. But in order to measure exactly where we are, all the momentum has to stop. All movement has to stop to be able to take the measurement of where we are.
Yeah.
And so we have to pay attention as leaders. What's more important right now? The sense that I know that's where we're going. I don't quite know how we're going to get there, and I'm not sure exactly where we are, but it's very clear that there's huge momentum. The energy is flying. We're on our way there. We need to keep going. I don't know exactly where we are. Mm-hmm. There's the other moment when you realize, wow, we've been moving. We need to pause for a moment and just find out where are we right now?
Yeah.
It's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's to realize that you cannot have both at the same time.
Okay.
And so we're so, as a colleague of mine used to say, well, when in doubt, stop and do a study, stop and take measurements, but that stops everything. So there's a huge trust that has to be there. There's like, we're in motion. I can't tell you exactly where we are, but I can tell you we're on the right track. You just have to keep going.
Yeah. So if we were going to tell those leaders where to start to practice transformational presence, would that be those 3 questions or something else?
Those 3 questions is a great place to start. And let's do another little piece here together, you and me.
Okay.
You won't. I'll ask you to come up with a topic of something that is really challenging for you right now, but you don't need to tell us what it is.
Okay.
Just so you have your topic.
Yes, okay? I've got this topic. Yes. Okay. So quickly.
So this tool is called Push Against or Partner With. And it's a great starting place. So with whatever your challenge is, we'll just call it the challenge.
Okay.
No matter what your relationship to that challenge is, for the next moment or so, push against it. Treat it as the problem that has to be solved. It's the enemy. You've got to make something happen. Just fix it. And notice what happens inside of you when you push against it. Just fix it. What happens with your breath? What happens in your sense of well-being? What happens in your relationship to the challenge when you're in the push against place? Just fix it. Just make something happen. You don't need to talk to me about it. Just feel that
but
energy.
I feel it. I know. Yeah, it's not nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel anxiety. So and tension.
All right. So take a deep breath. Kind of shake that out.
Yes, I'm shaking. Okay.
Now, chances are, even though you pushed so hard and tried to make something happen, your challenge is still there. And so let's work with it a little different way.
Okay.
Imagine that you could drop down underneath it or lift up above it, whichever feels easier to you, into a quieter place. And there's something here about this challenge that's actually trying to get your attention. There's a message that's trying to come through, or there's a shift that's trying to happen. There's something that wants to happen here.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've got
and
the
as
message.
you can sense that, what if you were to partner with that message, partner with what wants to happen to move forward? Notice what's different in your body, in your relationship to the challenge. It's different in your breath. When you listen, sense, feel, and then partner with.
Wow.
Tell us what happens here between these two.
Well, this anxiety that I had disappeared. And I felt in my body that I started breathing, slower, and deeper. That's for sure. And also this tension that I had. Well, I had a tension also in my shoulders, and I don't feel it right now, but rather I started being calm inside. And I started smiling also inside, because it was about, loving myself and accepting myself and also being kind to myself. Well, because the challenge that I was thinking about, it's my busyness and a lot of things that I do, and I'm exhausted. And, so when I'm partnering this, this situation, the challenge. So it tells me, be kind to yourself and pay attention to, your spiritual growth. That's what I have, received from that. Wow. That's great.
So that simple, very simple exercise, it's as a leader and working with your teams, to make one of the first questions that you ask, are we pushing against right now? Or are we listening and sensing and feeling and then partnering with something? Are we working with what's here, or are we pushing against what's here?
Yeah.
And, I'm a pretty aware guy. But at least once a day, I catch myself saying, Alan, are you pushing against right now? Or are you partnering with right now? Because we're so conditioned when something happens to immediately move into action and make something happen.
Yeah, fix it.
We're conditioned to push against it. So this is a shift, it's a paradigm shift for us as leaders to turn that around and to be constantly asking ourselves that and constantly asking the people that we serve that, so that we can shift from talking to it to letting it talk to us.
Yeah, and to listening. So, well, when I'm listening to you, so then I have an idea of another, let's say, definition of listening that I will add to the workshop right now. So listen not only to your people and their words, but listen also to the situation, to the field, whatever is happening.
That's really critical that we are listening in as big a context as possible. There are many layers to be listening on all the time, and there are other ways that we could talk about listening, but that's enough for now, just to start from that place and to be listening in that bigger picture.
Yeah, that's a great concept, that there are messages all around and information for us. We just have to open, and that's it. And you don't have to push against. Again, it's liberating, because, I have impression that a lot of leaders, they think that they are, responsible only for fixing, fixing directors.
There's maybe just one other little piece here that might bring us to a close, but just in the coaching world, and maybe so in the leadership world, but in the coaching world especially, they tend to say that the client has all the answers. And so the job of the coach is just to help the client find those answers inside of themselves.
Right.
Well, I believed that for a long time. I don't believe that anymore.
Wow.
And here's the reason. The principle of polarity, one of the ancient wisdom teachings, tells us that nothing can exist unless its opposite is also present. So in everyday life, that means the problem exists unless the solution is somewhere here around us. The conflict cannot exist unless the resolution is present. Mm-hmm. The obstacle cannot exist unless there's a pathway forward. And so what that means when we look at whatever might be going on, and we say that the issue cannot exist unless the resolution is also present, well, it's that it's present in the energy field of the situation, not present in the person. Now, if it's a personal issue, then probably the answer is inside.
Okay.
But when it's an issue in our company, then the answer is in the energy field of the company. When it's a particular situation, the answer is not inside of here. The answer is in the energy field of the situation. And so our job, again, is to hone our skills for tapping into the quantum field, for tapping into the energy field, for listening, sensing, feeling what is trying to get our attention here.
Okay.
It's around us, but it's not necessarily inside of us. And this is, to me, a huge relief as well, because I put all this pressure as a leader, I put all this pressure on myself that I'm supposed to have the answer.
Yeah, that's right.
My job is to hone my skills to be able to perceive the answer out there.
Uh-huh. So the role of the coach is to help the leader, if I work with a leader, to listen to the field and to listen to the answer in the field. And also the role of the leader is to help his or her people to listen to the field and to find the answer in the field.
Erwin Laszlo and Walter Schempp and some other German guys quite a while back developed this whole theory that the measure of intelligence is not a measurement of what's here in your intellect, in your brain. The measure of intelligence is actually a measurement of your ability to access the quantum field.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I hope it's going to be relieving for many leaders to hear that, well, I don't have to know all the answers. It's what I need to do is just to, work on this ability to listen to the field, and that's it, actually. Well, it sounds simple, and at the same time not so simple, but I think it just requires some practice, really, and being attentive.
And that's the key. That it's a practice.
Yeah,
it's a practice. It's not so difficult, but it's a practice, and it means shifting our habits.
Exactly, shifting our habits. Shifting our habits. So, well, that's quite hard work for some people because, well, we stick to our old habits. We love them. It's so easy to have them. But, well, if I really want to be leader who takes care of his or her growth of people, so then, that's a great shift. Wow, that was very, very inspiring. So,
it was fun.
Usually at the end of each interview, I ask, people, if you would like to give free advices to, or free tips to the leaders, what would that be? I'm just wondering if it's the right question at the end of this interview, because you gave so many good advice. But, well, probably there is something else that wants to be said. I will ask this way. What wants to be said at the end?
We're living in interesting times, as the Chinese proverb would say. You live in interesting times. Well, we are. But they're incredibly challenging times. Yeah. They're also full of incredible potential, but it's challenging times, and in some ways scary times. And so it's really incredibly important that we are learning how to pay attention to the signals and to listen on many layers, and to be present, not just physically, but to be present with every ounce of our being, and to be present in our hearts to one another. Transformational leadership, in one way, it's not only about this, but one of the things it is about find each other again. Make those connections, because when our hearts are connected, we're going to work together in a whole other way, and we're going to take care of each other in a whole other way. So I guess I kind of come back to, in one way, what we've been talking about the whole time. For me, the biggest assignment that we have in this lifetime is to pay attention.
Pay attention.
It's about awareness, and everything that I do is about expanding awareness, expanding our ability to perceive and to understand, and to reach out further and further into the energy field, into the quantum field, into the consciousness. It's all there for us. It's just up to us to develop our skills.
Yeah. Good. It's up to us. That's right. To open, and to listen. Well, Alan, thank you very much. That was really great. That was amazing. Thank you for those, little exercises that, you did with me. I hope that it's going to be very clear that way for our listeners, how to apply the tools also, and what to do next. So thank you very, very much for the time.
Thank you.
And just a last question. Where can we find you? You have a website, yes?
Absolutely. My website is transformationalpresence.org, transformationalpresence.org. AlanSeale.com will also get you there. But I hope you'll go visit there, because there are a tremendous number of resources there, free resources, right. There are videos. I've been writing a weekly blog post for 10 years, and most of the topics have to do with leadership, conscious leadership, certainly. So there's a lot there for free, and then of course there are programs in which you can engage as well. So.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. A lot of really, really great resources. So I encourage our listeners to go and visit your website, and also sign for the newsletter.
Yes, and maybe just the most recent book. There are 7 books, but the most recent book, called Transformational Presence: How to Make a Difference in a Rapidly Changing World. It's a great book for leaders today.
Yes, absolutely. I confirm that. Okay. Thank you very much again. And
Thank you, Aga.
Thanks a lot. And hopefully see you again one day at one of your workshops.
Okay. Thanks so
a
much.
lot. Thanks. Jeśli zainteresował Cię ten podcast i chcesz zostawić o nim swój komentarz, zajrzyj na stronę www.agnieszkapiotrowska.pl/podcast i podziel się swoją opinią albo pomysłem na kolejny temat podcastu. Do usłyszenia.